on the beach somewhere.
Okay.
Or next to a volcano. Well, like, split your time between living on the beach and living by a volcano.
I want to see Chile, like how it looks like, because I hear about it, and I wish to see it, and I'm gonna see it. No, this is the first time I've been to South America.
Hi, I look like a zombie. I just am really excited to see a new place, new people, different culture. I'm really excited to notice the difference in the Spanish language. Because I'm Mexican, so I'm a native speaker, but I think it's going to be very different, and I'm very excited to see that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing me trudge through all the hiking and, is trudge a word?
I'm Laura Rademacher, and I'm a professor in the Earth and Environmental Sciences Department, and I teach Geology 65 and 105, which is Geology of Chile. It's called Regional Geology, and the idea of the course when I came up with this crazy idea was that the region that the class focused on would change. This year I decided to do Geology of Chile.
Well, every rock has a story to tell. I kept repeating Jean's mantra, and what I've learned with Vengeance is it's not only true, but it's a very complicated story.
It definitely impacts our daily lives as we experienced on the trip.
Chile is such a strong country because they experienced the 5th largest earthquake ever recorded a week before we went. As we saw, the Santiago airport was perfectly functional for what they had. Infrastructure was a mess, but they got their tents up, they had customs going.
Muchos daños, pero no son de la estructura, sino que de los lugares de trabajo. Esos fueron los daños porque se rompieron cañerías, se cayó parte del techo, pero por eso no se puede ocupar la gran parte del aeropuerto. Por eso estamos acá afuera atendiendo a los pasajeros.
I think a lot of us complained about oh my god, 15-hour layovers in Santiago and all of that, but even that, we ended up having a good time. We have our stories to tell now. Oh my god, we had to sleep on the floor and everybody was saying those crazy Americans, what are they doing? It was our bonding time too. We got to know one another through that.
Yeah, we did have one interesting character on our trip. It definitely had to be Carson, the 3-year-old child of 2 of the professors, always the life of the party wherever he was going. He was just always probably the most energetic out of our entire group. He was like, oh, let's go over here, let's explore.
Yeah. high level of culture in Chile. Particularly, I mean, you know, a drive down through downtown Santiago, you realize that it's a very sophisticated, very modern city.
When we're in Santiago, we got to go to Pablo Neruda's house, and that was really special, I know, for everybody.
Pablo Neruda is one of the most important poets of Latin America and very well recognized around the world. And so he's very well known in Chile. This is one of his houses.
But he is considered Chile's gift to literary art, which was quite impressive.
Some of the most important, which we read in class, Canto General, and so general songs. And it talks a lot about actually the conquest of the Americas, but in poem form. And so he goes through the entire continent, all the way down to the Patagonia where we're going to be going. And so we read a lot about the Patagonia and actually talks about the geology of the Patagonia. He talks about physical features of Chile, and he generally compares Chile to a tall, slender woman.
Taken aback by a lot of the street art that was done by local people there about Pablo Neruda and his influence.
So there'd be murals when we first went to Santiago that were portraying the native Indian tribes there, originally from Patagonia. They really seemed to give the sense that Patagonia was really kind of the birth of Chile.
Well, it's secluded, you know, it's the last corner of the continent. Right in front we got Tierra del Fuego, and right after that we got Antarctica. It's the last corner, furthest southern city. This is the last city in Southern Point.
La gente aquí por lo general tiene un sentimiento muy regionalista sobre la tierra y nos sentimos un poco más patagónicos que chilenos.
Esto es un tema muy discutido, de dónde viene el nombre de la Patagonia. En realidad siempre se asoció al tamaño del pie de los indígenas, porque una manera coloquial de decir pie se dice pata. Sino más bien porque los conquistadores que llegaron eran fanáticos de la lectura de ciertas novelas de caballería españolas, y entre ellas había un personaje que era una especie de gigante que era Patagón o un nombre similar a ese. Entonces ellos cuando llegaron aquí vieron a los indígenas y lo relacionaron enseguida con estas novelas, y por eso le pusieron Patagonia, de ahí salió.
No ha habido mucha literatura que se ha producido con respecto a la Patagonia, porque ha sido una región que se encuentra siempre al final del mundo. De hecho, en los primeros mapas que hicieron los exploradores ingleses y los exploradores españoles estuvieron por el área, siempre señalaban estas partes con monstruos o con figuras que eran quiméricas, que no existían, porque se conocía como una región fuera del mundo. Era aquí donde terminaba el mundo. Entonces esta ha sido una región siempre muy productiva para la imaginación.
We've been driving. We just arrived yesterday after 16 months of driving from Vancouver, BC, to fight for Patagonia, to literally defend this territory. We don't want it to be destroyed like many others that we've seen along the way. And we've been crossing the continent in alternative energies. The car runs on burned cooking oil. So showing that there is alternatives, showing that there are other ways of using nature and not destroying it.
What are we gonna go see right now?
Pingus!
Yeah?
Penguinos.
What else?
Más penguinos.
What's this boat tour we're going on?
Penguino tour boat.
Penguin Island was certainly bleak. There was hardly anything growing on it at all. It was just sand rocks and penguins.
The penguins.
The penguin.
Penguins.
I mean, don't tell anyone this, but I flipped off a penguin, and it's just like, penguin doesn't know, but.
Another thing that is really spectacular is the glacial history of the region. I mean, that's something that's really prominent everywhere. And, you know, for me, one of the really cool things is that drive from Punta Arenas up to Puerto Natales, because the glacial features just become more and more apparent the closer and closer you get. So you start out and there's sort of these drumlin fields, and then you drive through this system of moraines and outwash plains.
Other parts were, again, full of signs for the knowing person that there have been glaciers here.
Timur. We give him such a hard time, but we love that guy. Just seeing him immersed in another culture. He came to America to live in another culture, and then we took him to Chile. He asked for his 7th Fanta, and We gave him such a hard time because that's all he drank, the poor guy.
Go up there, be like, Abril. Say Abril. Abril. A-B-I. Abril. 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 So, what did you just have to eat? Chicken with cheese.
Chicken with cheese?
Yeah.
Just that?
It was excellent.
Was there a special name for it?
No. And with the Miranda, Fanta.
Yeah.
Fanta.
Was it good?
Everything is excellent.
Excellent. Would you eat it again?
Tell me in Spanish.
What?
What's in Spanish? I'm done.
There was all kinds of evidence that we encountered that they feel some sense of loss for the indigenous cultures that have, in some cases, largely deculturized or assimilated into a more mainstream culture.
La Patagonia es un territorio donde, digamos, el diálogo de hombre y naturaleza marca el temperamento de sus habitantes. Yo creo que ese elemento crea no solamente una atmósfera, una construcción de la naturaleza hacia los habitantes, sino también una especie de paisaje interior.
That was one of the really spectacular things that we got to do on our trip, was take the boat trip through the fjords in Bernard O'Higgins National Park and get that. I mean, that's a perspective that you can't get any other way than like being on a boat and like being surrounded by these glacially cut valleys.
One thing that's interesting, this was discovered by a Spanish navigator in the 16th century, Juan Ladrillero. He came in, did the exploration all the way to the end of the fjord. It was until the 1830s with the Britons and the Beagle of Charles Darwin's fame that the area got rediscovered, if you want. But in between you had a tribe of Indians, the Alakaluf or Kaweshka, that were canoeing around here and getting their supplies of shellfish, seals, etc. And they were like basically the owners of the land.
There was, every day had something surprising and delightful about it. Sometimes, challenging. You're trying to admire the view from the deck of a boat that's pitching and heaving in a high wind.
Patagonia en este minuto sentimos que está prácticamente virgen. Tenemos algunos problemas de pequeñas contaminaciones que han habido en el pasado.
It's a territory that has some kind of exploitation right now, but if we don't stand up for it, we don't really express our feelings pro nature, we will lose it.
Pero necesitamos seguir trabajando muy fuerte en esto para preservar la belleza natural del lugar, y es un lugar único, prístino en el planeta.
It's a section that the fjords, the glaciers, the Campo Hielo Sur, Campo Hielo Norte are the biggest ice fields outside the poles, and that's unique, you know, and more ice than anywhere else in the world outside Antarctica and outside the North Pole. That makes it unique, you know, and everything around that has a unique ecosystem because of that reason.
And hearing the crack of the ice as we were coming closer towards it, I think that was great. I don't think I'll ever be able to go see a glacier again, maybe.
One of the things that we saw a lot of on the field trip was ice and snow, but you know, more geologically speaking, glaciers. And those glaciers in a lot of ways are sort of the canary in the coal mine for what's going on around the world as a whole in terms of a changing climate. So all the glaciers, or most of the glaciers in the southern Patagonian ice field are retreating, with one exception, which is sort of a unique case. But they're all retreating in part because it's getting warmer. And that means a lot of things for us. You know, it's a bit of a barometer for what's going on, but it has some immediate impacts in the Patagonia because the melting ice provides water resources to that region. And when the ice is gone, then a big piece of that water resource is also gone.
It's like losing a part of yourself, really. I mean, I'm not Chilean or I'm not, you know, even Patagonian, but it's part of the world, and you can't. I mean, just because it looks pretty, it doesn't validate the fact that if you lose it, it's gone. We lose ugly places a lot, and we don't really, you know, shed a tear about those. But just as well, you should think about what you lose. If you can never get it back, you should think about what would happen if you lost it.
Again, I think another really spectacular thing about the trip was the Zodiac boat trip approach into the park, because again, you don't get that perspective any other way than doing that. You're surrounded by the geology. I mean, the river is green with glacial flower, and you know, the way that the river is bending has cut banks and all this kind of thing. So I think it was just a really geology-rich way to experience, just entering the park before we even got there.
I was able to get a picture of the Torres, a photograph of the Torres that I will always be happy about because they just glow. And when you look at them in other times of day, they're quite imposing and, with this gray monoliths, but these are like orange and yellow fire. They're beautiful. I love it.
Dicen que yo de solo estar fui apagándome como la luz lenta y azul del atardecer. Piensan que estoy sacando el sol de la soledad, que por estar en mi raíz ya no crezco más. Es que yo soy y sé que soy.
Oh my God, we're in Chile right now. We're like in the Patagonia.
Sepan los que no han sabido que no estoy de solo estar, que estoy parado en el grito. Ayer nomás ardió el pueblo, ardió la tierra y el pan.
It's very artistic.
Go away. Go away. Go
Buy
away.
this water. It's good water.
Well, there's a lot of meaning in that movement, you know. He wants to tell you about the environmental crisis involved with
Exactly.
the water shortages.
Exactly.
And most of us weren't all just from the geology class. We were also from, like the Spanish class and department, and just like the wide diversity range our backgrounds that we all came from, and all of us going to the end of the world, and being able to just go down there and see this whole other culture.
The presentations that we had on the tectonic history of the region and volcanoes and seismicity, I thought they're really important, and they've been important since that land first came into existence, and they continue to be important now. And it's a very big part, I believe, of the culture of the people who live there, of the problems that they face, of the things that they consider to be most important.
I think, first of all, in terms of geology, I know there are two sides to it. There's the Spanish culture side and the geology side. I think in terms of geology, I know now that when I look at a rock or when I look at landscape or something, it's not just, you know, oh, like beautiful landscape, you know. I actually know that that has a name, or it has some type of meaning or significance, and that might date back millions of years ago and tell us something about our Earth. I think for me, that's just looking at something differently now, you know, having another perspective.
They were like, there's a fault, there's a fold. You know, do you see those rocks? What's up with those rocks? So, you know, that for me was like the flip side moment of that, where the students were like, you know, yay about geology, not just yay about seeing cool birds.
I had a fire here in February of 2005. It was started by a Czech camper who was coming back from the area of Glacier Dixon, and he basically was preparing some soup with the stove for lunch, and the stove somehow tipped over, got fire to the grasses around the area where he was, and the fire brigade came in, but we are not very prepared really to fight big fires in the area. It was very windy, and then basically all the area that was shrubland, etc. got burnt away. The fire spread into different cores, and that meant that fighting it was also very difficult. So it actually lasted for about 15 days and was eventually only put out by the rain, by 24 hours of continuous rain. The other big problem that we have is that this kind of forest is actually does not recover very well. If we walk or drive a little bit towards the east, you won't see any trees because it's just too dry for them to grow. And because the climate is probably getting drier and drier, that's what we see from empiric evidence, but also from the few climatic meteorological stations that we have in the area. So probably in some areas the trees won't ever grow and the forest won't be as it is.
We letting everything go by as it is, and this whole issue of climate change and this whole issue of like you know, environmental movement that is going on today, it's just on paper, you know, and if we don't move around, if we don't fight, if we don't manifest, if we don't protest, nothing's gonna happen.
I hope that Patagonia that nothing happens that would lead to Patagonia becoming overpopulated. It's a hard life there. People learn to really love the land. It's almost like a kind of perversity that the harder the land is in some cases, because it does yield, the more people love it, the more they notice it.
So what are we going to see right now?
We're going to go check out the Great Glacier.
And what's so special about that?
It's made of ice.
Forging your way across a rocky strand in a 40-mile-an-hour wind while there are waves being blown against the shore and spray coming all over you. It's a place that can turn from being, very quiet and beautiful and rich to, ooh, it's cold, it's windy, and things are moving.
But the fact that you have this wind and you're just fighting this wind to experience Mother Nature, makes you really feel alive. And you're just like, damn, I'm actually walking through this wind to get a better view of this awesome glacier.
I mean, it was like these huge gusting winds and everybody's like blowing over, barely able to stand up, and just like plastering them in the face with sand, and everyone was smiling. I mean, everyone was smiling, and for me, that was amazing. I mean, they're out there seeing geology and having a good time while they're doing it. I mean, I think that's when you really learn stuff and when a class leaves an impression on you.
This is the peso, Chilean peso. This is cost $2,000, not $5. I'm gonna get orange Fanta. I love orange Fanta. Do you love Fanta?
I love it.
Okay.
Especially when you drink it.
What that mean? Like when you said you love it.
I love
that
it.
meant you want me to buy one for you? Hell no, I'm not gonna do it, man. Amigo? Finally, Mamacita, I got the drink after 20 minutes waiting. Okay, this is the Fanta. Yeah, no alcohol with this Fanta, by the way. And see how I drink it. How it's delicious. You want some? I know, I'm not gonna give you. That's it. We done. And right now, wait, we're gonna leave to, what's the city name? Buenos something like that. Something in Chile, but I don't know what's the name exactly. Puerto Natales, it's a small city near the sea. It's a beautiful town. Anyway, we done, خلاص. Close it. Turn it off. Gracias. We done, dude. Gracias. Fanta. Drink it one time, you're gonna drink it more than one time. It's a good drink. Fanta, buy it today. Yeah, come on, turn it off, dude. I wanna drink the Fanta.
all the cultural aspects, especially the poetry reading. Like, that's significant in the fact that like we hadn't experienced that up until that point. Until the last day, anyways. So it was a nice cap on the entire experience.
One of the pieces of art that I most remember is the drawings that we saw in the art show on that last night of the T-Rex on the piece of Patagonia and then Darwin, Antarctica. I thought that was interesting.
At the poetry reading, when they had that elderly fellow who was just really passionate, like my Spanish is really choppy, but it's just like, whoa, what was he on about? And then like when Tracy explained it afterwards about how like he's seen how like man has encroached on nature and the fact that like that people are still interested in preserving that kind of native culture and the native areas. Well, that's powerful.
A lot of the poetry, the music had a lot to do with kind of like the indigenous cultures and their tie to nature. So obviously you see it is such a big influence and it is such a big part of what they do, and it makes their work a lot more beautiful because it's more tangible to them. It's something that they can see, they can feel, and they can express it to you, and you can feel that too.
Largo será el sueño de los justos, pienso, mientras reparo los resortes de mi cama, como quien revisa los mapas de un país desolado, que extravió su geografía de montañas circulares de patéticas ruinas arqueológicas.
La poesía se me ha dado como una forma de conocimiento paulatino, una forma de dialogar con el entorno. Eso entiendo yo por poesía. Una forma de dialogar con el entorno, con tu lenguaje, con tus tradiciones.
Sobre sus islas o en tierras bañadas por cielos más hondos, o en su silencio, o en las planicies que lloran calladas, el luto sin pausa, hermano del viento, se llega a la tierra no cortejada por ningún vivo, guardada a los muertos, que callados se siembran divididos, soñando el mismo sueño de los ríos. Que callados se siembran divididos, soñando el mismo sueño de los ríos.
Este poema va para ese que espera en la esquina y minutos después se sube al camión y desaparece. Porque sus pies tienen la misión del río, porque sus ojos se enferman si ven algo detenido. Este poema va para quien embarcó antes de conocer el mar, para el que viajó sin un céntimo en la bolsa, para el que no regresó y desandó el camino. Para él este poema, para leer de corrido, para que no pare, porque sus pasos son los que mueven la tierra.
Wake up, man! Wake up! There's lots. There's another world out there that is not in your community, that is not in your country. Come to Patagonia. Come to Patagonia with a reason, and come to Patagonia to protect it. And that's what I can say to the world: is enjoy Patagonia free today. It's a part of the continent that is waiting to show what it has, but it's waiting also for protection. And that's what this documentary is all about. This is more documentaries in the future all about, is to preserve this corner of the world as it is and to not destroy it.